Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Neufeld with World Vision Communications, and today I'm speaking with Alex Snery, who is the National Director of World Vision's offices in Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. Alex, thank you very much for joining us. And my first question would be, can you give us some kind of an update on the situation involving children in Gaza as this conflict enters its next phase?
Yesterday we had a lull in the fighting, so I was able to go in and to be able to meet with some of our sponsored children and some of the children who have been involved in our program. All of North Gaza ADP children have had to evacuate their homes, and they're currently living in the UN UNRWA schools. So life as a refugee is not good anywhere in the world. But life when you're faced with constant bombardment as a refugee is particularly terrifying. I spoke with a group of kids, and there were a group of sort of 7-year-old girls, and I said, "Are you afraid when the planes come over and when you see the planes?" And they said, "Yes, it's scary." And they said, "The F-16 when it comes and when the red light goes on, that's when you know it's about to fire the missile, and that's when you have to hide." And that's the scariest part.
Obviously, children are going through tremendous psychosocial trauma, and the United Nations has estimated that somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 kids will probably need some sort of psychosocial support as a result of this conflict. What other kinds of examples can you give us? I know you saw other children while you were in Gaza on Thursday. Can you tell us some of their stories?
Yeah, you have to remember that this is the third cycle in 6 years of this kind of violence. It was only 6 months ago that we finally were closing out of our child-friendly spaces from the last time, and that the last of our kids were sort of graduating out of the psychosocial support and care a mere 6 months ago. So you can imagine this now repeating this trauma once again, the impact that has. It just rips open these wounds of trauma and the terror that they're re-experiencing the whole terror of the thing again. There is no safe place in Gaza, and we've seen the last 24 hours. Kids who get caught playing on a beach, or kids on a rooftop. There's no safe place to go, and you just don't know where the next attack is going to come in, and that's particularly terrifying for a population that is contained in what is essentially a giant prison, and there is no escape. It's not like a normal situation where families can flee the area of conflict. Here, children are trapped in this ongoing nightmare.
So given that, what do families need most of all in the immediate period going forward?
The first problem I have is that services are rapidly deteriorating. So water, sanitation, electricity, these services are starting to fail more and more. Food supplies, while there is food to be had in Gaza, when families are trapped and they can't go out and procure food, access becomes a major difficulty. Families are running out of money. Many people in Gaza are daily wage earners. They don't carry a lot of cash. They don't have resources to cash. So we found that families were really struggling. Yesterday they got a chance briefly to go out, but in another day or two, this is going to be an increasing problem once again.
Can you give us a description of what World Vision is doing in Gaza under normal circumstances, and how this work that we're doing is being affected by the conflict?
Sure. Normally, as I said, we have focused heavily on psychosocial support in the past. The other big sector for us is working in agriculture, helping farmers, helping fishermen with livelihoods, and unfortunately, it looks like there's extensive damage once again to greenhouses and agricultural land. Fishing boats have been affected. So these are sectors, again, these are people that were vulnerable before the last week and were struggling before the last week. And now you can imagine what resources they have and what assets they have been further damaged. So this is going to be a major problem once again for them once the shooting stops.
And what will World Vision's role be once the shooting stops?
There is a private hospital that is in our northern ADP area. It's a good hospital, but they are absolutely flooded, overwhelmed. They're running out of all the critical supplies and that. So we've been working to get more of their consumables into the hospital and get supplies into them. In addition to that, we're prepared once again to reactivate and extend our 12 child-friendly spaces with the psychosocial support teams. And that can be done relatively quickly within about 48 hours of the end of the fighting. And they'll start intaking new kids for that program. We'll do once again the psychological first aid for parents, how to deal initially with your children when they're highly stressed and traumatized. And last time there were thousands of parents that we gave that training to, and obviously there's going to be a need to repeat that. We'll also be working with some small-scale food distributions for families that have lost their homes. We know that over 400 homes have been totally destroyed, which means there's nothing but rubble left. These are private homes of individual families, and at least 1,600 have been damaged. So for many families, they're going to struggle. Their assets are gone, and they're destitute now. So they'll be needing some ongoing food support, which we'll work with the UN agencies on. Beyond that, we'll have to look at how with the whole question of the build back. Do we once again build back again? How do we help the farmers? How do we help the fishermen once again to get their lives reestablished?
So is there a long-term solution possible at this stage? We've heard so many talks of durable and permanent ceasefires. In your mind, based on your experience, is such a thing feasible?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, I guess. All things are possible. The solutions here are not that complex. What make it complex is the political machinations. With the right political leadership on both sides, it is possible to come up with a long-term solution, a just peace, one that accepts that there are two peoples living in this area, and neither one of them are going anywhere. And it is time to start dealing with that reality, and to start and to stop these political agendas that seek to deny that reality. So yes, it is possible. It would take a lot of very decisive leadership, very strong leadership on both sides. The agendas that believe that this land can eventually be occupied by only one side or the other, those agendas need to be recognized for what they are, and it's time to put them aside. As a faith organization, we really do seek your prayers that somehow in the midst of this tragedy of the deaths of innocent children, God will make a way forward, and that we will see a miracle of reconciliation. So I think two things. Pray for an immediate ceasefire so the killing stops. But beyond that, pray that somehow God will use this to open up a way for a just long-term peace. And I think those are the two major things. Obviously, also please continue to pray for our staff and our children on the ground, for their safety and security as well at this time.
Alex, thank you very much for this.
Thanks, Bob.